Friends, it's time for another Magic All Around. And I've been promising to talk about flowers for a couple of weeks, and circumstances have made it a little difficult to make that happen. But I'm here today to do just that. With me, I've got some mint flowers because that's the only thing I have growing in my garden right now. Also smells fantastic. Mm, so good. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit about different aspects of flowers that some people consider magic. Some people just consider it the inherent properties of that plant. Um, in Victorian times, flowers were used as a love language or an expressional language. In fact, I've used that in my books. If you remember that, if you've read them, that Cullen actually uses the language of flowers to express remorse and love for the character Lucy when he's kind of acting out like an ass. Um, and I draw on that quite a bit. I love that kind of hidden language. And that is something that you can incorporate into your daily life by including plants in your home or flowers in your home, bouquets in your home that express the kind of energy that you want to bring in. Now, if you use the Victorian language model, there are both positive and negative connotations to different flowers, so consider carefully. There are also many other modalities that you can use from different cultures. For example, you can use your birth flowers if you want to bring energy to you, and there are all um, different kinds of flowers depending on which culture you pick from. I particularly like, as somebody who is a student of Korean language and culture right now, I really like the Korean layout. There's some really nice flowers in there and plants, and some of them are unexpected. Um, Most people are familiar with the English one, which I find a little bit boring, although I really like my birth month flower, which is Narcissus, aka daffodil, which is one of my favorite flowers. There's something just really happy about it, and every spring I always try to bring some into the home because they give me that uplifting spring energy. Sadly, they're very ephemeral. They don't last long, so I only get them for a short amount of time, which also is a lesson to learn about how you have to appreciate the beauty of things before it's gone, right? Another way that plants can bring magic to you is through health. Um, of course, we used herbal medicine long before we had the modern medicine that we use today, and many modern medicines are actually derived from some of the constituents that are in herbal medicines that we used in days gone by because we found them effective. The trick with herbal medicine, and keeping myself from going on a very long rant about this, is that you have to go to the correct sources for it. And that means that you can't just listen to anyone. Um, I recommend, if you would like to learn more about it, there are plants that are considered GRAS or generally recognized as safe, and those are a good place to start. And you can find some well documented books that will teach you a little bit about that. I mean, there are plants that we know that most people take that are fairly easy to tolerate, like mint, for example. Fairly easy to tolerate, although funny enough, I can't tolerate it because of my Crohn's. It does not work well with my particular issue. So see, there's always an exception. But you can also use that in culinary cooking. I do this a lot if I want to impart a certain energy or mood. I will consider cooking with herbs that I find enhance that. There are so many different lists of correlations for herbs and uses online. I can list some in comments if you are interested in pursuing that. Or you can do the thing that I like to do a lot of times, which is use your own intuition. Because a lot of times it's bang on with what other people have come up with. Um, Take some time, sit with the plant, smell it. Look at the leaves, look at the way it grows, think about the kind of environment that it likes. This is actually really good plant medicine too, because it puts you more in tune with the plants that you would like to consume. It respects them because we are taking their energy when we consume them. The least we can do is give them a little bit of our time to understand them and respect them, right? Um, I like to do that a lot. I grow things. That's one of my hobbies. I'm a very amateur gardener, although I've been doing it for a long time. I'm very hit or miss because, like many things, like this talk I'm doing today is very slapdash. I didn't really think much about it before I jumped into it. And although I've been gardening now for 15 years, 20 years, holy crap. I garden the same way I do many things, which is I learn as I go and I experiment, and sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. I found that some plants I do really well with, and that's because I jive with them, right? We have we have simpatico. We understand each other. Herbs I'm generally pretty good with. Um, with garden plants like tomatoes, I'm pretty good. Cucumbers, cucurbits in general, I'm not so great with. Radishes and I are friends. It's just one of those things, and you can learn a lot about yourself by observing the plants that you are good at growing, if that is your jam. I learned that root plants I'm pretty good with, things, root vegetable type plants. Mediterranean plants I do really well with, and that has to do with the environment where I live too, which is very subtropical. They really like that kind of moist, humid, heavy sort of environment. Tomatoes are tricky for me. I like little tomatoes I do really well with, like little cherry type tomatoes. Big tomatoes and we're learning to get along. But there's a magic in that too, right? Um, there's a magic in learning to discuss with a plant how to better serve it. Or maybe to not have that plant as part of your environment because you just don't get along. That's okay. We don't get along with everybody, right? Um, Flowers are like this too. I do well with roses and I like them a lot. We've always had them around since I've had a house to live in. Other flowers, it depends. It really does. I finally become friends with an orchid, which is a plant that I've had a very rough kind of relationship with. And I found that really what works with me and orchids is that I talk to them, and other than that, I don't fuss over them. It's a really good lesson for me. They want me to be hands off. I struggle with the hands off thing because I'm very isolated as a person because of my illness and the fact that most of the people that I care about are pretty far away. So, looking at this orchid that really wants me to be hands off is a difficult sell for me, but I've learned to do it because some things are like that, and that is a magic too. The magic of understanding yourself through, in this case, through this flower. Um, there are so many different ways to look at it. I mean, you don't have to take everything at face value, and that includes the plants around you. I mean, what plants are the sturdiest ones around? The ones that never get put down by anything. Generally, like the weeds, the ones that we think of as weeds. No plant is really a weed, although some can be really challenging. I'm looking at you, kudzu. Um, but like dandelions, right? There's this whole raft of people out there that hate dandelions. Dandelions are a delightful flower. They're great for you. They taste good in salads. They're awesome fried. They have really good medicinal effects for you. Really good as far as your urinary tract and kidneys, liver, stuff like that. Um, just really, really good, supportive flower to have around. Taste awesome in fritters. I've even had awesome dandelion wine. Um, but people look at them as weed because they grow everywhere. They're not valued, which is a shame. They do wonderful things for your lawn. The roots aerate the soil, which makes it better for staying together, for not getting compacted, for being richer in general. The leaves are also really good to eat. They make delicious salad or tea. There's just so many different ways that you can benefit from dandelions if you truly look at them. And they're sunny, they're beautiful flowers, right? And they have that yellow, vibrant sun energy to them. Can't beat that. It's all in how you look at them. And I mean, that's what we're here to talk about, right? It's that magic of looking at things differently. So here's a challenge for you. I want you to go and find a patch of grass, right? Not super manicured grass, something that kind of gets mowed but isn't like fussed over or sprayed or anything like that. Something that's got weeds in it. And take a look. Little bit harder now because it's, at least here, because it's later in the season. It's, later summer. Spring is the best time to do this. But I want you to get down and like look for some flowers in that grass. And I want you to think about them. Most likely you're probably going to spot clover, but there could be chicory, there could be chickweed, there could be a bunch of different things in there. I want you to look at the flower closely. I want you to look at how it's made. How are the petals formed? How do they cluster around that main stem? How is the stem? Is the stem square? Is it round? Is it spindly? Is it thick? How do the leaves come off the stem? Do they come off pairs? Are they staggered? Are there no leaves? Is it like a really long stem and then there are leaves at the bottom? No judgments, just observe, right? Just think about it. You could take notes if you want to. I would challenge you to just think about it in your mind. Analyze, remember as much as you can about these plants. And then I want you to go later and look them up online to the best of your ability. Hopefully without knowing what they are, because this is where you really learn things. Describe them. Use the descriptions of them. What the flower looked like, what was the color, what was the shape, how the petals came off the stem, things like that. All the things I talked about. Use those as descriptors so you can find what that plant is. And then learn what it tells you in these different assessments. Is the plant good for your health? Is the plant good for your yard? Is the plant something that livestock eat? Is the plant something that people eat? Is the plant something that is non-native? Has been brought here from somewhere else? Is the plant something that has traditionally been used for a specific thing? These are all clues for you on different ways to observe your environment that maybe are outside of your normal information zone, right? That's magic because you are looking at your world in the simplest way, but in a much bigger way than you did before you went and did this little assignment. That's my challenge for you. Go look at a weed. If you don't have any weeds around, go find a flower that's growing in your neighborhood and do the same thing. Again, especially if you don't know anything about it, but even if you do, but check it out. See what you can learn. There's so much that we can absorb from the flowers around us and plants in general. That is my magic all around tip for today. Take care.